been a feast like we have never seen before here, and it could be the last supper for Melbourne.
There's a bullet flying around and we've got our names on it. Unfortunately, I got hit last night.
Tributes continue to flow tonight for Melbourne legend Jim Stynes, who lost his battle with cancer today at the age of 45.
On Friday, at its unscheduled meeting, the board decided that Mark Neal should not continue as coach of the Melbourne Football Club.
Neal's exit comes hot on the heels of the sacking of CEO Cameron Schwab and the resignation of President Don McClarty. The AFL tanking investigation ended in confusion and farce.
This is significant sanctions, the third largest fine in the history of the AFL.
The football world is mourning former Melbourne coach Dean Bailey, who's died at the age of just 47, only 4 months after doctors told him he had lung cancer.
One of the other turning points was when Peter came to me and asked, would you be interested in, heading the organisation and then handing it over to someone else? And that really, really sparked the interest.
I've got a real sense of energy now I'm sitting in this chair to what can be. Where can we take this football club?
Melbourne having the most magnificent day in the heart of the nation, and it doesn't get any better than that. What a statement they've made, the D's.
Welcome to Talking Footy. The Melbourne Football Club story in recent times has had its fair share of tragedy and heartache, but a 91-point win in Alice Springs sees them as a genuine contender. Welcome to our panel, Campbell Brown, BT, the King Wayne Carey and Sam McClure. That was something special. I know that the two of you are up in Alice Springs. Are they a chance to win the premiership this year?
They've arrived, and no one's been more critical of Melbourne over the last decade than probably me. I used to say they're a footy club that never stood for anything. They were insipid. They weren't a tough footy side. Well, that's all changed now. They lead the competition in contested football. They're absolutely outstanding and hard in the middle of the ground. They spread their load up forward. They've got great connection. They're the real deal, BT.
Long way to answer the question, but yes, they can, Das. And happy birthday to the King Duck. 47 yesterday.
Oh, congratulations, Sir Wayne. Are you a fan of the Demons?
Look, I am. I think Adelaide were really poor yesterday, and yes, I think if you play finals footy, you can win the premiership. I think the last couple of years have proved that. But I'm not convinced off the back of that win yesterday just yet, because I thought Adelaide were very, very lacklustre.
Not you can only off the back of 5 wins?
No, I'm saying Melbourne are going very, very well, but I'm not getting carried away off the back of one good win against Adelaide, who I thought was as poor as I've seen them probably for about 3 or 4 years.
Who would you have ahead of them right now, Duck? Richmond or West Coast?
Probably. Well, they sit third on the ladder.
But anyone else in as far as who you think are most likely to win the premiership and hold the cup up?
Oh, look, if you're looking at their form over the last 3 weeks, they're probably the informed team. I know West Coast have been playing really solid footy, as Richmond have, but Melbourne, the way Melbourne have been winning, that's what's been impressive. So they've beaten some weaker teams, but they've beat up those weaker teams, Brownie. That's the
I'm a
level
big fan. I love their list. I love the balance of it. I think they're well coached. They've got stability for the first time. We just saw what they've been through in recent times. I think they are as well placed as any side, BT. I love how unselfish they are at the moment too. They share the ball around beautifully.
They're playing incredibly selfish football, and I reckon you're right about the balance. I reckon they've almost got their back six right. They've got their front right. In fact, they're 22. They probably haven't settled on their 22 yet, but they're not far off that as a... Now, this team has won a club record 18 consecutive quarters of football. Never done it in their history before. In fact, last time they won 5 in a row, Nathan Jones was just 2 weeks from debuting, so that's how long ago it was. So a group of tough, strong players like Viney, Oliver, Vince, Jones, Lever, these sort of guys. A group of good ball users like Salem, Hibberd, Lewis, Melksham, and ball winners as well, as you say.
Yeah, well, that vision we just saw then of how selfless they are in front of goals. That reminds me of Geelong in the mid-2000s when they just used to instinctively give it to a better player. It's a real team-first mentality, and you can tell when it's manufactured and you can tell when it's not, and they do it instinctively.
There wasn't a lot of pressure.
No pressure.
You look at that highlight there. They were playing witches' hats.
No, but they had to win it. They had to go away, and it was 3rd versus 4th this game.
Yeah,
third versus 4th. I tell you the thing that I saw yesterday that I haven't seen a lot of from Melbourne over the last few years was a bit of modesty in the way they won, a bit of humility. For instance, when Melksham, Adelaide had that fumble in the goal square and Melksham socked the goal through, normally it'd come back and it'd be a roughing of the hair or something like that. There was nothing from Melbourne. There was no high-fiving, there was no pointing. It was just get the job done, very workmanlike.
Brownie, you talked about that they were a laughing stock on the field for so many years. They were a laughing stock off it for the same reasons, for their recruiting. They were handed priority picks. They were seen as a club that were given a lot of help by the AFL to try to get them back up. We should praise them for the same thing when they get it right. You look at the fit players that didn't play in Melbourne's 22 on the weekend. Jaden Hunt, Tom Bugg, Garlett, Pedersen, Tyson, Frost, Ballick, who they got from Fremantle, Kennedy Harris, Wagner. There's 9 just off the top of your head. They've got depth now.
Paul Roos, what he has done is quite remarkable. What they're doing now is exactly what he got paid to do. Go there, fix the place up, make some changes, get the recruiting right, and basically put Simon Goodwin in the seat after he's finished. And it's been
that was the example of a successful succession plan, wasn't it? That Collingwood probably tried to do and it didn't quite work. Seamless. New coach came in and they're reaping the benefits.
Great story out of the game for me, BT. Angus Brayshaw, 37 disposals, 3 goals. He couldn't get a game at the start of the year. We know he's had issues with concussion. That is a fine moment for him. You just feel like a turning point for his career, and he's going to be a big part of this side going forward.
Looked superb, kicked the ball really well, got in the right spots, won the ball when he had to win it as well. He was instrumental, Das. He's back. Look, he may have been... his brain may have been re-navigated early in the year to get him to be more like and train and prepare like a professional footballer. He's now doing that and he's reaping the dividend of that. The other guy, Das, was Jake Lever. In the first half, particularly yesterday, this was a guy... Now, we did not hear one thing all week from Jake Lever about playing his old mob. He wasn't, sprouting anything or he didn't say a word. It was just one of great humility and modesty, and then he come out aggressively. He knew that Adelaide were going to target them, and he come out as aggressively as I've ever seen him play.
I thought he was absolutely superb, BT. I agree with you in the first half, and there was a real steeliness about his game.
He let his footy do the talking, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Every now and then, Brian Taylor finds a person.
Yes, I found one.
We don't know anything about, and he makes them his own.
Now listen,
who have you got for us?
Well, Simon Goodwin and his team are to be credited with, and Paul Roos for initially laying the foundation for this group to be able to do it. But Craig Jennings is a guy that sits in the box with Simon Goodwin that hardly any of us, in fact, none of us would know about. That's him just using his hands to tell Goody what's going on there. He's the guy that's responsible for game style at the Melbourne Football Club, does a bit of ops as well, and basically knows everything that's going on. This is a guy that should be getting a fair bit of the credit as well, because he's a guy that's been positioning Melbourne in the right spot with their style and the way they play. And you talk about their style, you'd say, well, this is the team that has kicked the 3 highest scores in the last 3 weeks in the competition this year. That's not a bad game.
He's actually a North Melbourne player, Geno.
That's why did he actually play a game?
He didn't get a senior game. He played under 19s.
No, you drafted him and you gave him the flick.
With the Kangaroos. So a premiership player in the under 19s, and then he obviously went over to Essendon.
He will be a coach one day, this guy. He'll definitely coach at some stage.
They're a side, they refuse to kick the ball backwards as well. They always take ground when they can and move the ball forward, which I think in the modern game you can get bogged down a little bit by going backwards and sideways, and they don't.
One question for you, Sam. This is a team that's got a percentage, I think about it in the 130s. Anyway, over 127. What happened last time this team had a percentage of over 127%?
I would assume we'd be looking back towards 2000, the year they made a
1964, right? And they won the premiership.
Yeah, it's the first time since 2000 they've kicked 120 plus 3 consecutive weeks, and they played in a grand final that year. So you're right, BT, some good things coming.